Is this not? This is not.
This one?
Yes. Yes, so I'll be talking about automated analysis of accountability. This work is done in collaboration with Rosario Giustorizzi and Carsten Schumann, also from the IT University of Copenhagen in Denmark. So let me start, first of all, what is accountability? Accountability is this property, a bit neglected security property about blaming the right people when something goes wrong. So let's start with an example. This is a distributed concurrent protocol that we are running these days. It's quite amazing that it works. I'm really surprised, but you can safely go through the road and not get hurt. But sometimes things happen, and when things happen, you really need to step down and get some evidence and find what's going wrong in the protocol. Maybe some rule has been broken. It doesn't happen only here in Vietnam. It happens. This is a picture from Copenhagen, my home city, and this guy is probably crossing the red light and turning right in front of all these people who are waiting. So he's breaking the rules. It doesn't happen only here, and it's quite dangerous to walk on the street when you have this amount of bicycles. There are 160,000 bicycles a day crossing this particular bridge. So things go wrong, not just, well, I haven't had bad experiences here, but they go wrong here at least. Cool. But getting back to software, many things go wrong in software, and that we know. And there are always examples of like bugs in software, vulnerabilities that cause great damage to our society. And it seems like we cannot really avoid it. So maybe it's useful to take a paradigm shift from trying to avoid attacks to try to detect what goes wrong when something goes wrong. And in particular, properties like verifiability and accountability are very interesting and are the core of this presentation. So that's what we're going to talk about. So the contribution that we made with this paper is to propose some general definitions for verifiability and accountability that are amenable to automated verification in the symbolic model. So if you're familiar with symbolic verification of security protocols, like with tools like Proberif or multi-set writing semantics and stuff like that, that is what this is about. So it's about automated verification. And we have validated these definitions and this general framework for reasoning about accountability with 3 examples that I'm gonna probably glide through because we don't have the time. So the first one is distributed exam protocol. Then we have Bingo voting scheme. It's a voting scheme, and the Google certificate transparency proposal, right? So again, accountability ensures that the failure of a system is detectable. So we have usually some security goal that we want to ensure, some security property, and when the security property doesn't hold, it's not that the protocol just goes along and ignores the fact that there has been an attack, but the violation of the security property is detected. And also, not just the violation is detected, but the parties who misbehaved can be blamed, right? And in that sense, it's stronger than verifiability. Verifiability is the property that requires you to detect things that go wrong, but doesn't require you to know where things have gone wrong, who has misbehaved in your project. Right, so there are a bunch of different variations, different flavors of this property that have been developed quite recently, especially for voting, because voting is a field where you don't have a black or white security definition. It's not enough to just say that votes remain secret. You have some indistinguishability properties, but there are other properties like coercion, resistance, and so on that you have to deal with. And so it's a tough landscape. So they've come up with a bunch of different properties that deal with how do you verify that things have gone right, even if you can't observe the system. No, you can observe very little parts of the system, but still you would like to know that the result has been counted correctly. So there are these two properties called individual verifiability, which is more about the idea that if you are a single voter in the system, or you're part of a bidding auction, or you're conducting an exam, then you can be sure that your little view of the world is correct. So your vote has been counted how you expected it to be counted, or your exam has gone right. The dual of that is universal verifiability, which is you're not able to see how a single person's vote has been counted, but you have a global view of the system and are convinced that the count of the votes, for example, has been counted correctly. And then there are other variations, so auditability, no repudiation. And finally, accountability is this general framework that says, basically, if a security goal has been violated, a specific security goal has been violated, then we know that it's related to some actor that has misbehaved in the system. Right, so what's our scheme? The idea is that you can see all, specify the soundness and completeness conditions for accountability tests that can be checked with reachability properties. So you basically describe your protocol in a symbolic model, in a formal model, and you should be able to check as a trace property, a property that some particular condition is reachable in an execution of your program, and that this check should be sound and complete. So it means that when this check says, yes, I find a mistake, I find an error, then the right person is blamed. And vice versa, when somebody has misbehaved, then the test will always tell you, yes, I found that particular person has misbehaved, and not anybody else. Right, so we define a protocol like this. A protocol is a tuple of a bunch of channels, a set of actors. Pi's are the programs that are run by the actors, by the principals. And G is the set of security goals that we want to enforce. So this is what a protocol looks like in our framework. And we care mostly about goal-convergent programs because it's always possible to just DDoS a system, to block the execution of a protocol. But what you care about is that the executions that reach the end are meeting the security requirements. So PyG is the set of all tuples of the possible traces, possible executions. And PyG alpha I are the goal convergent programs for the actors alpha I. Okay, so let's start with the idea of verifiability. How do we express verifiability here? You don't know who's to blame, so let's assume that both, let's say Alice and Bob, are malicious. So a soundness test for verifiability would be some sort of function that observes the input trace and the security goal. And if it returns true, then the security goal has been verified, so the goal holds in the run for the problem. And that is soundness. So if the test returns true, so says everything's fine, then everything's fine. Completeness is the dual of that, and basically says that if the goal falls in the run of the protocol, then the verifiability test returns true. So it's an if-only if, in a sense. And the accountability test. Now, you can see the verifiability test had some evidence, like the traces that both Alice and Bob give to a judge who has to decide whether one of the two misbehaved. But it doesn't talk about which principle misbehaved. So it's just about whether the security goal holds or not. But once we talk about accountability, we need to put the principles into account. So we add one more parameter, that is, who is to blame? Is Alice to blame? So in that case, for soundness, we should assume that Alice has been misbehaving, and Bob is the angel here. And so soundness means that if Alice is not considered accountable,